What are my top picks for August? This is going to be my top 3 picks for August, guys. I've mentioned all 3 of these picks, actually 2 out of these 3 picks in my previous videos. And I tell you what, if you had paid attention to 2 out of the 3 of these, you would have made significant money. They're still on really my conviction list. And a lot of comments that I'm hearing right now is how difficult it is to find value in this market. And that's true. With the market at all-time highs, it is actually really hard to find some value, guys, but I'm working really, really hard, you know, for your guys' awareness sake to push out from my perspective what I'm seeing. Guys, welcome to the Independent Investor Channel, coming to you from New York City, New York. It's good to be with you guys. I'm just throwing these picks out there for awareness. I watch a lot of the top 3 videos out there really just for entertainment. I don't want to re-emphasize a lot of the consistent picks that I see getting pushed out there. And quite frankly, I see a lot of those picks and I just look at things a little bit different. And I know if you're hearing out these 3 picks, I know it's going to generate some discussion. You guys have to understand, my awareness is at a very high level, okay? And I talk to a lot of people who want to get invested. And the number one thing that people are deficient in is their awareness. In one word, it's their awareness, okay? You have to be willing to be somewhat aware. Now, I'm paying attention to the market multiple times during the day. Not so much so I can activate a trade off of that information. It's just because I'm genuinely interested in it, guys. I'm interested in what the market's doing. I'm interested in when we have jobs reports like we did on Friday. I'm interested to know that we have 8 days straight, you know, and that we're in record territory, guys. I refuse to not pay attention to that stuff just because I'm trying to be a responsible investor. Now, just a couple things before I push out information with regard to these 3 stock picks. I encourage you to do your own research, okay? Now, I'm gonna make that very easy for you, all right? Because where I got this information from, I'm gonna go ahead and post in a PDF in the bottom of this particular video, and you can kind of go in there and read the 1-page snapshot report, if you will. Kind of key off on what I keyed off on, because these 3 stock picks, guys, these are the ones really that float to the top, and you really have to understand, I track hundreds of stocks, okay? In one of my videos that I'm going to do here shortly is I'm going to teach you guys how to build a watch list. All right, because I way too often am talking to people who are excited about the market. They want to get started. They want to do the right thing. And quite frankly, I can put them in the right vehicle, all right? But they're coming and approaching the market with a concern of basically being, you know, like entering into a desert, and they don't know where to start. They don't know what direction to go. You know, they don't know what preparations to make. They don't know what to study, okay? And the watch list is really going to help you start to break down sectors and start to identify if you are interested in following a Disney stock, for example, or an Apple or a Microsoft, to start to categorize those stocks in their appropriate category, okay? So stay tuned for that watch list video. It's going to come out for all of my new 100 subscribers that I've got. I just passed the 100 subscriber mark, guys, and I put these videos out there really with the intent of talking to you guys, okay? I pay particular attention to my comments, and I try to base a lot of my dialogue around my audience, okay? I really do not want to have my channel be one-sided. I don't want to get on here and just, you know, regurgitate a bunch of statistics about these stocks, because it's boring, okay? Really, in a 10-minute video, all you're going to need to get from this is what stocks I'm really looking at, you know, and what stocks are really looking the most intriguing right now, all right? So the number one, I've mentioned it on my previous videos, it's Marathon Oil, all right? Marathon Oil, I've traded around a core. I've traded it many times throughout this year and the end of last year. And my trading range was anywhere from around $15 to $18, all right? I traded it, probably off and on at least 10 times, okay? I've made a profit every single time. I don't sell stock in the red. I don't sell stock for a loss. But I moved out of the stock for my last piece of profit, and I've actually watched Marathon come all the way down and approach the $10 level, okay? Now, as of Friday's close, Marathon's looking at about a $12.90 closing price, which I still think is a bargain. Here's what's going on with Marathon. Marathon has really suffered the downturn in oil just like everybody else in the industry. And what they've done is they've shifted with the downturn in price of oil. They cut their dividend in 2015. They sold off a lot of their oil sands assets in Canada that were really low profit and really low margin businesses. And what they've done is they've expanded their footprint in the Permian Basin and the Bakken regions, basically here in the United States. And it's actually the biggest player in all 5 of the major regions there: New Mexico, North Texas, North Dakota, Oklahoma, and there's one additional. But if you study that region, guys, you know that a lot of the major players, Marathon Oil is right there with them, all right? Got about a $10 billion market cap. And when these guys come profitable, actually, due to all the restructuring, guys, there's going to be a lot of growth ahead of them. I currently own Marathon Oil. I've owned it now for a month. I've taken it a little bit into a downturn, and I kind of am telling you guys this at a little bit of sweet spot. So do your homework on Marathon Oil, okay? There's probably some profits to be had here in the short term and especially the long term going into 2018. All right? So that's Marathon Oil, guys. The next one, I'm probably going to take some abuse for, probably not as much as my third pick, but I'm going to take some abuse for throwing this out there. But again, it's really what looks the most attractive to me at this particular juncture. And nothing looks more attractive than Tractor Supply Company, guys. It's really finding its bottom here in the low 50s, and it took one pretty good hike here. I think we're really getting some buying interest in this low 50s mark, and I would be really, really hard pressed. You know, I followed Tractor Supply when it was flirting with $100, and here we are. We've cut half of its value. We're looking at into the low 50s. Guys, the growth is still there. The expansion is still there. They've been around since the 1930s, and they are the largest urban farm equipment and supply company out there. And they strategically put their businesses in place to provide those services really right to their customers. And you think, okay, well, why can't Amazon beat up on these guys like they beat up on everybody else? It's really simple. A lot of the products that they sell are bulk products, right? People have to go to these stores and they have to pick up what's being sold. Now, they did acquire PetSense along this ride and along this downturn. And I think what you're going to find with a theme in all of these stocks that I'm recommending, if you knew nothing about technical analysis and looking at the actual stock charts, guys, you'll hear it from me and you'll hear it in the industry, guys. You want to buy low and sell high. Want to buy low and sell high. And if these charts don't speak to you, okay, after reading these reports and really looking at the charts, you're going to see the same thing I am. And they've really come off their highs, and all 3 of these stocks have really gone through multi-year transformation and restructuring within the companies, all right? So Tractor Supply is my number 2. It's just under 10 billion on a market cap, so really not that huge of a company. But from an investment standpoint, and every one of these are investments. Now, you can take them into the trading range if you want to, make a little profit on them if you want to, and then sell out of the position. As long as you're doing it within the account that I recommend, then you keep all those profits tax protected and wealth preserved in your self-managed Roth IRA, all right? So that's Tractor Supply. The last one's probably going to generate a ton of activity and a ton of comments because there's probably no more stock out there with any more negative publicity than our beloved General Electric. And, you know, I find that interesting because if you're going to be an independent investor, you have to have your filter on all the time, okay? You really need to know how to extrapolate information. You can listen to reports all you want, but I read multiple sources, all right? These documents that I'm going to link up for you guys in the bottom description, giving you kind of the insight and the technical piece that I derive my information from. But General Electric has just been a real laggard in the Dow, all right? Now, General Electric is involved in all kinds of businesses: aerospace, oil and gas, pipeline, alternative energy. One thing in my reading of General Electric, that the last time I was tracking the Baker Hughes deal, Halliburton was looking to acquire them. General Electric is now in the driver's seat to acquire Baker Hughes, and that's a phenomenal acquisition to get more in the services business, all right? General Electric is going to pay you a 4% dividend while you're waiting for this to play out, guys. But I think I've watched this stock go from the low 30s around 25. The close as of Friday was, I believe, 25.78. So, you know, for a 100 share position at $2,500, look at the value you're getting in a company that's over 100 years old, and it's a diversified industrial play. And I talk all the time about splitting up your portfolio and making sure that your percentage of allocation has certain representatives in those particular percentages. And if you're going to look for a play in the industrial sector, find me a better name than General Electric at this point. You know, I was in between Lockheed Martin and General Electric, and I can jump on the bandwagon with Lockheed Martin all day. The problem is, over the last 2 years, Lockheed has doubled in price, all right? General Electric, from a contrarian perspective, I think there's not a lot of downside risk from, you know, in the mid-20s, and you're looking at, you know, taking a position in it long term, and you're going to enjoy that 4% dividend and maybe get a couple bucks of appreciation out of the deal, all right? Now, a couple names I'll just throw out there because I love stocks. Like I said, I follow hundreds of stocks, but I'd like to throw out just a couple more that did not make my top 3 list because I've seen other guys do the coverage, and I didn't want to be repetitive. There's no use in any of that, but I will throw out Disney, Costco, and Gilead Sciences as my top 3 basically mega cap stocks that are worth looking at. And finally, I'd like to mention my top 2 trades from last month, which was July, which was Kroger Shopping Centers, which is the grocery chain that got beat up because it wasn't Amazon, okay? It went from the low 30s down into the low 20s, and I actually picked it up and made a quick 8% off of that trade. That was $200 on a couple-day trade. Pretty easy money there. And the second one, my biggest, most successful trade last month, of all things, was actually AT&T. I actually picked it up before it went ex-dividend, because I watched it kind of float from the low 40s down to the mid 30s, picked it up around 36, and it exited the position back closer to 40, and actually made $800 on the trade. Now, I did it the day before it went ex-dividend, so I'll be paid the $250 for owning it for 10 days, all right? So over $1,000 on that particular AT&T trade, all right? But listen, guys, thank you for tuning in. I'd love you to leave your commentary. I love sparking discussion within the investment community, guys. I'm really having a good time with building constructive dialogue with a lot of the folks that follow me online. But this specifically, you know, for my viewing audience, guys, these are the top 3 picks that I am looking at here in August. I own 2 of them. I will probably be looking to take a position in General Electric based on what it does on Monday. I'm going to kind of be monitoring a little bit. It hasn't really moved off of that 25. It's approaching $26 a share. And like I said, I think for $100 long term, it's a real value play. All right, guys. Share the link with anybody that you know out there that can benefit the information. If you have not subscribed to the Independent Investor channel, I encourage you to do so. You'll be notified of any future videos that I put online. Again, leave those comments at the bottom. If you disagree with any of the picks, which I'm sure a lot of you will, I'd love to hear that commentary, really, because the intent is to build a more educated investing community, and I love having that dialogue with you guys. So share the link with anybody, hit the thumbs up button for me, guys, and good luck in your investment future.